if I think back to that moment, it kind of gives me chills because I never even thought that that would bring me to this space right now. And not saying that I'm my peak or my pinnacle or anything like that, but that little desire to learn more. And I took time out of my schedule and I didn't say, oh, I'm not going to go today or maybe next time, or just putting doubt in front of myself. I was so ambitious to get this thing going. If people purchased it or if I baked it and gave it away. And plenty of times I give pies away and still do. But that was one of the times like I found out like, okay, you know what? You got to keep going. When you want to start, you got to start somewhere. So I'm not in business just for me. I'm in business for others and for the community. When I say the community, it's anybody that is within my reach, not just a particular ethnic group, a particular culture, nothing like that, but just as a community of people building each other up with positivity and just wanting to see people grow. And I love that.
Welcome to Begin, Build, Blossom Your Business Journey, the podcast where we share valuable insights, resources, and motivation to fuel your entrepreneurial spirit. Let's build a supportive community together. Don't forget to subscribe or follow wherever you listen to podcasts and be part of this journey. Let's pause for a moment to hear from our sponsors. You've built a name for yourself through hard work and dedication, but does managing the business side feel like a distraction from your true passion? Are you dealing with unmanaged finances? CME Accounting LLC is here to help. We specialize in organizing your financial records, allowing you to focus on what you do best. With organized books, you'll have more time for what inspires you. Whether that's expanding your influence, building relationships, or simply enjoying life. Don't let unmanaged finances hold you back. Reach out to CME Accounting LLC today and let us help you thrive. Visit our website www.cmeaccountingllc.com or email us at admin@cmeaccountingllc.com. All right, let's jump back into our conversation. Welcome to another episode of our podcast, Begin, Build, Blossom Your Business Journey. Today's guest is Colossain Davis, the owner of Tori's Tasty Treat Cafe. Colossain began her journey as a home baker and has since opened her cafe. At Tori's Tasty Treat Cafe, she serves coffee, teas, and delicious homemade desserts. Along with hand-selected treats, she personally considers the best of the best. While the cafe has been open for about 1 year, Colossain brings over 25 years of baking experience to her business. It all began with one unforgettable recipe, her grandmother's sweet potato pie. After her grandmother passed, no one else in the family knew how to make those delicious pies, so Colossain drew on her grandmother's instructions, channeled her energy, and started baking sweet potato pies. And that's how it all began. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. And we met a few years ago at a networking event, and we've kept in touch, and we're here today.
Yes, that is so true. I'm happy about that.
I am. We've had an opportunity to speak since in between, and I'm really glad that we've kept in touch. And I'm just so excited to speak to you today about your business journey.
Okay, thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
So, we're going to get started with a segment we call Rapid Fire. We try to get brief responses, but it doesn't always work out. So, let's see how it goes today. So, let's
Okay.
get started with two words. One word you would have used to describe yourself as a child, and one word you would use to describe yourself now.
A word I would use to describe myself as a child would have been shy. And a word I would use to describe myself now is resilient.
Okay. And tell us a fun fact about yourself.
Okay. One fun fact is that I love penmanship, so I love to write And yes, I want to author a book, but my thing is about like the calligraphy, just calligraphy. I love writing. So I love penmanship, and that's like a fun fact about myself. I don't draw, but I love drawing letters, if you will.
Okay, all right. And can you share with us a favorite childhood memory that comes to mind?
One of my favorite childhood memories, honestly, was, I just have to say, being in the kitchen with grandma, baking and cooking, and not just on the holidays, but those were special occasions. And when I got to bake my first cake when I was about 9 years old, and I just remember just how happy I was, because until then I would just be watching her cook, or she might say, "Go get this, go get that," and that particular time she allowed me to just kind of put everything together myself with her instructions, of course. But that's like a good childhood memory, because that was a good time in my life where I got to spend a lot of time. I spent a lot of time with my grandmother.
I love that. Those times with grandmas. I just really love that. Thanks so much for sharing that with us. And I'm sure we will be touching on that on those memories a little bit more as we talk about your journey, as based on what we've talked about, that's where it all began for you.
Yes.
Can you tell us a movie or a book that you'd recommend?
I would recommend right now Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I would definitely recommend that book. And the reason why I say I would recommend that book is because it's more than just wanting to do something. It's about getting up and doing it, and also being able to see yourself doing it. So it's a lot of things that come into building oneself to where you want to be. Writing it down. There's so many different components, but to be able to have instruction or hear other stories of how other people have done it. And that is one of the reasons why I would recommend that book.
All right. And when you say about learning about how other people have done it, you're doing that for somebody listening today as well by being on the podcast. So thank you so much. And can you tell us one of the best moments that you've had in business so far?
I think that one of the best moments was when, usually my business started around Thanksgiving. So last year, Thanksgiving, this was all new to me to have a space, because I usually have people come to my home or I would deliver pies to them. So I think that last Thanksgiving season was so exciting for people just to come and be able to look around and say, "Oh, okay, this is where you're at now," and just be able to enjoy more of my, just who I am as a person. Uh, how can I say? I cook in my kitchen and I want people to enjoy. So now they have a place where they can sit down and enjoy. So that was like one of the like happiest moments, because I was like, will they come? Kind of like that. So I was like, oh, okay, I opened this place, but will the customers come that already were my customers? And it just was such a joy. Some people I never got to see in the delivery process. So that was a wonderful thing, because it was one lady, she came in and she was like, "Oh my God, I finally get to meet you." Because it was just like a drop off or someone picking up when I wasn't home. So that was a joyous moment for me. It made me smile, and just all the responses that I got from people saying how they enjoyed, how family members enjoyed their Thanksgiving desserts and things like that. And one phone call comes to mind, and it was like a couple of days after Thanksgiving, and I was getting ready to close, and a gentleman called me, and he was an older gentleman, and he goes, "Listen, whatever you do, don't stop baking those uh pumpkin cheesecakes." And I was like, okay. I know who bought the pumpkin cheesecake, but I didn't even know who this guy was. And that really just kind of solidified for me, like, okay, you're doing this and people are happy.
That's great. And when you get that feedback, nothing like that, right?
Yes, really makes you feel good.
Yes, I'm sure. And can you think of maybe one not so good moment that you've had so far?
I guess when things are kind of like, if I forget something, something like that, like if it's times where I might forget to order something, like I forget that I forgot to order bread one time. But it wasn't that I didn't have any bread, but I just forgot to order the bread. And I was just like, oh my gosh, how could you forget that? And because that's a key component to like having breakfast and things like that. And I was like, what am I going to do? And then I thought about it and I said, stop, relax, because you always know how to come out of things. And I had croissants. So I said, would you like your sandwich on a croissant? Because I did have some bread, but like, no, I want to get fresh products all the time. So offered croissant, the customer was happy. I wound up getting bread, and I would guess I would call that like an embarrassing moment for me. But when it comes to giving, like you're the person giving something, you're the one that see all of the mess ups, and everybody else just sees like, oh, everything went well, and you're happy to know that they didn't see all of the behind the scene, like, I don't know, this chaos. That's it. They didn't see all the behind the scene chaos, and you only know the chaos, and then you can just wipe your head and say, "Woof, glad that's over. Let's not let that happen again."
I'm really glad that you said that. Because I guess the customer doesn't always know what's happening. So as long as you keep that smile going and you deliver that customer service, it goes well. So that's good. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, we are going to now move on to the begin segment. And here you have the opportunity to tell us a little bit more about your business, things like how long you've been in business, what inspired the business, and even maybe how you came about choosing the name for your business.
So I was attending a church in Broadway, New Jersey, Agape. Agape was the name of the church, and they had a D free class, which D free is like debt free. So it would be, I believe it's like 12 weeks of communication or classroom. We did classroom work. So I would go to church at, maybe it was every Wednesday night, I'm not for sure. So at the end of the D free class, after we learned about how to eliminate our debt, it also talked about or instructed us to find something that we had as a hobby or something that we could monetize, something that we could use to monetize in our life, which would help also for you to become debt free. And not saying that I had never been in business. I had other business ventures that I had involved myself in. However, this particular time, I just was like, okay, I have been baking these sweet potato pies for a long time. And I had a coworker that kind of came to my house one time and was like, oh my God, never stop baking these pies, never stop baking these pies. And so once he said that, I was just like, okay, let me just continue. I said, I'm going to continue baking the pies. And with the class that I was attending, which was like maybe 2016, I had like a little flyer that I had made up, and I had let everybody try these pies, and I was like, they're gonna love these pies. It's gonna be great and all of this. So I get there and everybody enjoyed the pies, and I didn't get one sale from it. I was like, okay, no problem. I would take pies to work all of the time. I would always cook for my coworkers. And then in 2019, I got a promotion to another work area, and I was just doing the same thing, baking these pies. And then I made a sweet potato cheesecake, and there was a coworker of mine who tasted it. I didn't even know she tasted it, but she got my number and called me and was like, "Listen, I need you to keep baking these pies." And I was like, okay, well, I am. And then in 2019, Thanksgiving, I had like over, I'm going to say 75 orders for whole pies for Thanksgiving for the first time that I made, not for my family, for other people's family. And then going on to 2020, and I know COVID hit kind of hard, but still people ordered and they would come and pick up. And then it got into 2021. Family and friends. Well, one person actually asked me to do a retirement party, and I made little pies, and this lady tasted them, and she has been a fan, and she has supported me. And it's just so many people that have come from through my family, my sister. She has had people to support me, through my coworkers, and just have had so much love and exposure from the just the few. I feel like it's a few people I know, because I may know 1,000 people, but that doesn't compare to a billion people. So it's just been so much love that has come from that has had me grow into this business, and to be get here to 2025. And the years have just gone through the Thanksgivings and the Christmases. So I didn't have the name Tori's Tasty Treats in the beginning. It was just, I'm baking pies. So what happened was, I once I decided that this was going to be a business opportunity for me, in 2017, I attended an event, and for the life of me, I do not know the name of the event, and I just know that it was like a an event at the Gateway, and it was like various business people in the food industry talking about how they started their business and how they wanted to get to the next level. And it was in the evening time, which I had a 1 year old, or yeah, he was about one, maybe it was 2018, so he was about one. And so I was like, oh my God, how am I bring this baby to this event, so on and so forth. But there were a couple people that really welcomed me in that space. And I just was like wowed by it, because it was other people who already were established in their business. And they were like, so what do you do? I didn't have any products with me, because it was an information, kind of like a seminar and a learning opportunity. So I said, I bake sweet potato pies, because that's all I was baking at that time. And the lady was like, well, okay, so what's the name of the business? I was like, well, I don't know. And I had just kind of ended another business that I already had, and it was selling ices. So the summer was over, and I couldn't use that name, because it had nothing to do with baking pies. And so she said, okay, what's your nickname? And I really never really had a nickname, but my middle name is Torica. And through my college years, there was a boyfriend of mine. I'll just say it like that. Yes, a boyfriend of mine who just would say Tori, and and he's my daughter's father. But nonetheless, he says, all the time, he was like, I'm not calling you that long name. I was like, but that's my name. Colossian is my name. I said, well, okay, Tori. Tori's fine. So the lady said, yeah, Tori sounds good. She said, okay, so what do you do? You again? I said, I bake sweet potato pie. She was like, okay, so let's get some adjectives for these sweet potato pies. What do people say about your sweet potato pies? I was like, they say they're tasty, they're yummy, they're good. She was like, nope, stop there. She said, you said it already. She said, tasty. She was like, you know what? Okay, you got your name, Tori's Tasty Treats. So just going to a seminar. So what I will say is that happened in 2000, like I said, 2017, 18. If I think back to that moment, it kind of gives me chills, because I never even thought that that would bring me to this space right now. And not saying that I'm my peak or my pinnacle or anything like that, but that little desire to learn more. And I took time out of my schedule, and I didn't say, oh, I'm not going to go today, or maybe next time, or just putting doubt in front of myself. I was so ambitious to get this thing going. If people purchased it, or if I baked it and gave it away. And plenty of times I give pies away and still do. But that was one of the times, like, I found out, like, okay, you know what, you got to keep going. When you want to start, you got to start somewhere. It's not all about saying, hey, I'm in business, because that's not the end all and be all. A lot comes with being in business.
Yeah. And I feel like from what you're saying, I hear a lot about community there when it comes to the church and even all the people who support you, attending events, networking, which is how we got to know each other. Another theme I got there was people encouraging you, don't stop baking throughout. You keep hearing, don't stop baking. And also exposure, people doing things that you are aiming to do yourself, and also you exposing people to your products, to your treats, and whether, even though you're not selling them at the time, but people are getting to know what you do. And I just I got all of that from what you said, and I'm just really glad that you shared that with us, because it shows how every little thing leads to the other. And that brings me to a question I have about your upbringing. Is there anything in your upbringing you think that led you to where you are? I know you mentioned about baking with your grandmother. Is there anything else you could think of?
Yes. Yes, in fact, there is. When I was about 9 years old, my mother opened a grocery store downtown Newark. So it was like one of the first grocery stores downtown Newark, which downtown Newark, New Jersey, is more of like a retail, clothing. You can find everything you need for hair supplies. You can find all of the sneakers you want, any communication devices. Back then, it was like, not cell phones weren't. It was beepers. It was radios, it was Walkman, it was anything you wanted to find. Like, we would go to a mall now, you would find that downtown. So my mother and my stepfather, they got on this business journey, and they opened up a grocery store. And it was called Little Julia's Grocery Store. It was named after my younger sister. And my mother had me and my brother in there daily. After school, that's where we would be. Saturdays and Sundays, that's where we would be. It was sometimes where it was like, I wasn't always wanting to be there, but thinking back, it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot. And then once I turned like 16 and I was in high school, my mother had to take on a job because the business had caught fire, but she still kept the business open and started rebuilding and things of that nature. So I would open the store when I got out of school because she would be at work, and me and my brother would run the business until she got off of work. And when she was at work on the weekend, we would open up the business, so on and so forth. So that was like something that structured my mindset on how to handle certain things. But I knew that everything, what I didn't know everything as a child, but now coming into this business as an adult and just seeing it, now I'm seeing a lot of different things that maybe my mother even experienced. And it's like, I have a 8-year old now and I have a 23-year old, but my mother had four of us and she was still pulling to run this bit, pushing and pulling to run the business. So with this being said, like, that was a experience that kind of helped me to know that I know a little bit of how to do this. And let's get this in, how do you say, get this energy together, or like putting a plug into the wall and electricity comes and the lights come on. So that kind of like, that was like, all right, let's connect the two, let's see what happens if we connect the two. And so that has created this space for me.
Let's pause for a moment to hear from our sponsors. You've built a name for yourself through hard work and dedication, but does managing the business side feel like a distraction from your true passion? Are you dealing with unmanaged finances? CME Accounting LLC is here to help. We specialize in organizing your financial records, allowing you to focus on what you do best. With organized books, you'll have more time for what inspires you. Whether that's expanding your influence, building relationships, or simply enjoying life, Don't let unmanaged finances hold you back. Reach out to CME Accounting LLC today and let us help you thrive. Visit our website www.cmeaccountingllc.com or email us at admin@cmeaccountingllc.com. All right, let's jump back into our conversation. Okay, wow. Thanks for sharing that with us. One thing you said that caught my attention was you said your mom had to go work for a little bit after the fire. And I'm just wondering, actually, before I ask, are you currently full-time or part-time in the business?
Full time.
Full time, okay. Because I was just wondering, sometimes, we have to pivot. And for your mom to have, like, for her to have taken that, instead of closing the business, she kind of figured out a way to make it work. And I was asking about full time or part time because I know sometimes that's some of the things we have to consider when we have a business. And how do you manage that? So I can see, even as a child, you were exposed to that and you probably learned quite a bit from that experience. Were you ever doing this part time when you first started the cafe, or has it always been full time?
I do have another job. I'm in law enforcement currently. Sometimes when I think about it, it's like, how did you get there? How did you get to that place of law enforcement into baking and things like that? So, yes, I've been in law enforcement for 25 plus years. So, that's been a journey in itself. So, to have started baking around the same time that I started my law enforcement journey, I was still very young, still very young, right out of high school, ultimately, and then just working in that environment. There's not much connection with cooking or baking, uh, dealing with law enforcement. So yeah, that's all it is. But yeah, I've been doing that for 25 plus years, wrapping that area of my life up soon.
Okay, so I could see there's some stuff there. Like, even when you were a kid, you saw how your mom probably navigated that, and now you're having to do that yourself.
Yes.
I just find it amazing. Sometimes when we look back at our childhood and we realize how it was really preparing us for what we're doing now, but we don't always see it at the time, right?
Absolutely. I sure did not see it. And I remember the day my mother said to me and my brother, she said, when this store closes, you're going to miss it. And those words resonated with me. I'm going to tell you when I went to college. Because I went to Rutgers in Newark, and the store was right down the street from Rutgers in Newark. And every time I would be going to class, I'm like, yeah, yeah, that was just me down that street just a few short years ago. Yeah, I did miss it. And she said, you will miss this place when we no longer are here having this place. And I did. I missed the people. I missed just the sense of community. And I was still in the area, so it wasn't like I couldn't see those people. But some of the people were like, how can I say, much older than I was. So it would be like other business owners and things like that, or some people that lived in the area and things like that. I'm not just knocking on their door, but they would see me walk into class and I would still speak to them and things like that. So it was pretty cool to still be in the community and welcome and know that I had a support, kind of like a support system where I wasn't so far away from home, even though I wasn't far away, that I still had people looking out for me. And that was a big thing when I was in college.
Yes, I love that. All right. So let's talk about building now. From what I gather, you've had the brick and mortar for about a year now. What would you say are some of the lessons that you've learned from actually moving from being a home baker to now actually having a place, an actual cafe?
Well, I've always been a person that wanted to, how can I say, bring joy into people's lives, whether it's having a conversation, whether it's leaving them with a small quote, or whether just letting just me being an impact on their life in a positive way. So, having this business just with like learning how to communicate with staff, Even though I'm a supervisor at my job, it's a different type of thing. It has challenged me and forced me to be more concerned with the person rather than just saying, do what I say, because this is not that type of thing. And sometimes I have to take a step back and say, okay, am I speaking in a authoritative tone? That is not the way I want to come across. I want to come across as willing to listen, but willing to teach as well and willing to learn. So it's a lot going on there. So I'm willing to listen and I'm willing to teach and I'm also willing to learn. And with that, I feel like that is so important. And that was a little bit of a challenge with what other people's concerns are, and maybe even something that they may give to you, say to you, that might help you along the way. Like I had an employee and she was here and she said, can I just make a suggestion? I said, yes, tell me. I want to know. And she would not want to tell me. And she said, can we please have a refrigerator up here? I said, you know what? That would be a great idea. And she probably had so much anxiousness to say it to me. And when she did, I was like, listen, I need you to know that it's okay to speak to me, and whatever you have to say, I'll receive it. And sometimes I'm gonna be honest with you, only time it's hard for me to receive it is when it's my child. That's the only time. But other people, they will talk. My employees, they speak to me, and I want them to have that open line of communication because it's something that could help grow the business and also help them grow. So I'm not in business just for me. I'm in business for others and for the community. When I say the community, it's anybody that is within my reach, not just a particular ethnic group, a particular culture, nothing like that, but just as a community of people building each other up with positivity and just wanting to see people grow. And I love that. I love that part.
And I see when you said about just your child, I realized based on your Instagram that you and your child works there as well, right? That's what you mean? She's as an
She works
employee.
with me. Yes, she works with
Okay.
me.
Yeah, that's nice. Oh, and then that brings up something about being a small business owner. You have to have that whole HR thing going. So since we're already talking about that, let's go behind the scenes a little bit. You also have to deal with marketing, you have to deal with accounting. So can you just talk us through how you manage these as well? And full transparency, I am an accountant, so I really love to hear how people handle accounting in their businesses.
Okay, I received that. So right now, also share a little bit about this because this is my one of my support is my fiance Charles. I started really creating the foundation of actually starting the LLC with Charles, not with him, but like with his guidance. And he owns a tax business where he's a tax preparer. So that's how I started. And he handles my accounting. However, with that, I know that that can be a bit much for him because he has tons of clients that are constantly calling him whenever, and I'm quite sure you know about that. If someone has a question at 10 o'clock at night, and I'm sorry to say, if it's Valentine's Day, you might pick that phone up and answer that text question. And that's okay because that's a part of what business is. And I had never been in that type of business, but to be able to be around him and see that, and I learned a little bit about taxes and things like that, and also educating myself and going to different seminars and talking to people, but also learning like what tax, not just the deductions, but what can you do for your business that would help you in reducing your taxes and how you pay them and structuring them and things like that. But honestly, I would be willing to learn more and to handle it a little bit better because as being a owner operator, It is tons of work. It's tons of mental work. It's tons of physical work. It is just, you have to love it. That's all I'm going to say. So the marketing portion, that part, my daughter has come to help me with that piece, that component, because as social media is advancing and AI is slipping right on in there, and how people communicate with each other is not just word of mouth anymore. We have to reach people past just going to our own neighborhoods. It's now reaching out where people can be, I hate to say this because I was thinking about it, but you can be your own star on any on this social media platform, and anybody can find you, and they just don't know where they're going to find you, but when they do, it's like, okay, this is what I've been looking for. So there's somebody out there that's been looking for, I'll even use your profession, looking for an accountant that they needed. And they're like, oh my God, where have you been all this time? There's somebody out there looking for someone who bakes the best sweet potato pies. Where have you been all this time? So that part with marketing, I feel like marketing has taken a different turn rather than when I was younger. Now we have more exposure. If I wanted to find someone in Texas who makes the best barbecue, I'm quite sure I could find it. And it changes things because once you have the question, it's almost like you can look for the answer on social media. I'm not saying it's good, bad, or indifferent, but you can find it. So if somebody's looking for something great, you may pop up.
Yeah, so being visible and bringing in support, even like your daughter is helping with marketing, your fiance helps on the accounting side, you're still willing to learn more about the accounting aspect of it. So it's great to be open like that and to bring in that support that you need. And in terms of the blossoms segment, we'll just go in there a little bit and ask you, how has your confidence grown as a business owner since you first opened the business?
I'm going to say this. I started off, you asked me to how to describe myself as a child, right? And I said shy. So I've always been shy. And the confidence hasn't always been there. And I'll be honest, I can look into this camera now and be okay sitting here. I'm going to tell you, even 5 years ago, I wouldn't be able to look into this camera and sit here. I was always shy. I stumbled on my first commercial audition. So I stumbled like really, really bad. I wouldn't even speak. I wouldn't, it was a simple word like mommy. So right now, what I would say is it's built my confidence up because even though I knew people were always looking, now I pay more attention to myself. So it made me be more self-aware and give myself more self-care. Even if I don't give myself the care that I need, I know I need to, and it helps me to strive to do better. So it builds my confidence up to be able to know what I'm doing, what I'm putting inside of me, not just food wise, but what I'm looking at, what I am reading, what I'm hearing. And honestly, yes, the foods that I eat and where my surroundings are. So these things have brought up my confidence and how I look at myself. And like, I'm learning a lot about myself. Like, what do I really, really like? And things of that nature. I mean, I know it's probably a little bit not connecting, but even just with making sure my hair is done, like things like that, making sure my nails are properly manicured, because I always want to present in a way that I care about myself. Not, oh, I have to look good, but that I care about who I am. So that means that if I care about me, I definitely care about you. So that's how it has built up my confidence. Not just one thing, but it's a lot of different things that go into it. And I mentioned about like the five senses. I didn't say that, but the five senses are so important. So it's always good to have a nice aroma around, so those things like build up my confidence when it's like Good things you put in your mind, good things you put in your eyes, like you see, good things you hear, good things you smell, and then you just feel good. And that's what built up my confidence. And one other thing I will say, my children, they built up my confidence. They definitely have, by just being there and just with their beautiful smiles and saying mommy and things like that. So mommy, you can do this. And that has built my confidence up.
They are all connected, definitely. And especially, I know I say that a lot, but especially as small business owners, we don't disconnect. We are the business in the sense that we represent the business, at least when we first start. Everything is really, we're doing everything until we bring in support and we grow beyond just ourselves. So, yes, how we present ourselves, how we take care of ourselves really does matter, and it does reflect in the business. And that's something I'm learning as well. So, I'm also working on that. As we close out this episode, it's been great talking to you. I've learned a lot speaking with you. I just wanted to know if there are maybe three pieces of advice you'd like to share with someone looking to follow in your footsteps.
Okay. The three things I would suggest is write it down, meditate on it. And that means meditate, pray, ask for guidance, and take action. It probably would be a little bit more than that, but if you have that feeling of, I want to do this, you must seek God first and ask God, like, what do I do next? And then you have to take action.
Yeah, definitely. We do need to take action. And how can listeners reach you?
You can reach me I'm at Tori's Tasty Treat Cafe, 236 Hollywood Avenue in Hillside, New Jersey. The business number there is 862-381-5550.
Okay, and what about your social media handles?
Okay, so I have a social media handle for my Instagram. It's Tori underscore tasty treats with the S. But you'll be able to see the same logo that I have here on my shirt. That's the logo that's on my social media right now. So far, and I do have a TikTok. It's probably under the same one. I'm gonna be honest, my daughter's handling that.
Okay, no problem. We will go ahead and include that in the show notes so you can listeners can look there for it. Well, thank you so much for spending time with us and wish you all the best.
Thank you. Oh, I meant to say I do have a website. It is Tory'sTastyTreat.com.
Okay, we will add that one as well. We cannot forget the website. All right. Well, thank you so much and have a good day.
Thank you. You too. Stay blessed.
A quick note before we wrap up: the insights and experiences shared by our guests are their own. We love creating space for real conversations about business and growth, and everyone's journey is unique. Therefore, this podcast is for informational and inspirational purposes only. It is not meant to replace legal, financial, or other professional advice. So, we encourage you to take what's useful, do your own due diligence, and build what works best for you.
Thanks for listening to Begin, Build, Blossom Your Business Journey. We hope today's conversation gave you the insights and inspiration you need to move forward on your own path. Don't forget to subscribe or follow wherever you get your podcast so you never miss an episode. Do you have feedback? We'd love to hear from you at podcast@cmeaccountingllc.com. Join us again next week for a new episode.